All right. Working on making sure this live stream is coming through for everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast. All right, so it looks like it is working. Let's make sure that I can see what's going on. There we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast. Today, coming to you from a Starbucks parking lot because, well, it is what it is. Traffic and trains did not cooperate with me today. So I am live streaming from my car, and I hope that what I'm bringing to you is of value to you, that it's a blessing to you or to someone that you know. Give me a second while I reposition the camera here, y'all, and make sure that I am hands-free. Sorry for the adjustments, but gotta do it. Gotta make sure that y'all can see me without me having to hold on to this camera. So yeah, that didn't work. So so I turned the holder the wrong direction. Yeah, that won't hold. That will not hold. There we go. So let's see. And I'm gonna keep adjusting this till I get it right, y'all. I am going to get this right. Yes, I am. I'm gonna get this right. I'm not giving up. I'm gonna get it right. Bear with me. I'm so sorry that it didn't go exactly like I had planned it, but I know you can probably hear me, but you probably can't see me because my camera is not positioned correctly. There we go. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get myself back to my home office so that I can talk to you all properly from there. But while I get there, let me introduce the topic. So I have a real heart for caregivers, especially family caregivers, spousal caregivers, people who most of the time they were not provided with any warning that they were going to end up taking care of a family member unpaid for a length of time to help the family member recover from illness or help a family member before the end of their days when they were not able to really recover. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I'm there. I haven't just been there, I'm there, and I've been there for a while now. And when I first became a spousal caregiver to my husband, it was gradual. There were just little things over time that I needed to do to support. But then eventually it got to the point where he had to leave his job and I had to become a full-time caregiver to him. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was terrified, honest truth. I was terrified and I didn't have any support initially. I didn't know how to be a caregiver. I didn't understand what that meant and what all was involved. And I didn't know how to access resources to help me get things figured out. But eventually I got to the point where I was able to get the support I needed. I was able to learn and the things that were required for my trained in that arena. My education was not nursing oriented education. I had no training for that at all. And so, you know, I got some training and I was able to provide some support. And then eventually we were able to get additional support for a little while until the pandemic hit. And then that was a whole different scenario at that point. And I know y'all probably can't see me at all now. My camera decided to go out, but We'll fix it here in a few minutes. But what I'm saying is this: the trauma of becoming a family caregiver is real. And people who are family caregivers for their spouse, for their parent, for their child, they deserve to have more support, not just from family, but from their community, from society, from government. Many people who are providing caregiving to family members don't receive any kind of monetary compensation at all, but they've blown up their lives to help their loved one. And that's very tough. And that's not something to sneeze at. That's very serious. It's very difficult. And many times it leads people who are becoming family caregivers to have to give up their dreams, or at least they think they have to give up their dreams for it. But, I'm talking to y'all today to tell you it doesn't mean you have to give up your dreams. You don't have to give up your dreams when you become a family caregiver. Now, the way that you pursue your dreams is definitely going to change, without a doubt. But you don't have to give up completely on pursuing your dreams because you became a family caregiver. And so that's what I'm talking about today. I've been talking about things along the line of, did you give up on? And I talked about, did you give up on yourself? Did you give up your money? Did you give up on being able to dream for yourself? And today's context is we're talking about caregivers. Did you give up caregiver? Did you give up on your dream because you became a caregiver? And this is a topic it's tough to address, because some people would have you think that if you're married and your husband is sick, then you're sick too. I've heard people say that. If you're married and you're sick, then you're too. I do not agree with that. When they first said it, I was deep, and I agree wholeheartedly. I was like, yeah, I feel too. But the honest truth is that I'm not sick. A, B, we've got kids to still raise. He's not able to do it. I have to raise these kids. My husband is young. It's different when you have two elderly people and one dies and then the other one dies right behind them. They've been together for 60, 70 plus years, and they don't have any kids at home. They just have each other. That's a whole different scenario than a younger family where one of the partners becomes ill and then the other partner has alone. That's a whole different scenario. And so, like I said, when I first heard somebody say, if your spouse is sick, then you're sick too, I agreed with them at first, but I had to fall out of agreement with that quickly. And I had to learn whatever I needed to learn so I could learn how to take better care of myself while I was caregiving, and so that I could take care of our kids. And I won't lie, it's definitely been very hard. But you know what? Sometimes the hard things in life are the things that you learn the most from and you get the most benefit out of. Sometimes the hard things in life can be things that actually help you. It hurts, straight up. It definitely hurts. It hurts like crazy. Nobody wants to go through that kind of pain, that kind of grief, and feel like, your loved one's life is in jeopardy and you could lose them at any minute and you don't know what to expect. It hurts. Nobody wants to go through that, but it happens. It's part of life, y'all. I'm transitioning from my car to my home, so give me a second here. Give me a minute to get myself together so that I can transition over and make sure that I can that y'all can still hear me and everything, and that I can focus and talk about what I said I was going to talk about. So while I'm transitioning over, I just want to ask you to think about something. Do you believe, and the audio is probably going to change too, so hold on. All right. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. Do you feel like your life is over because you become a caregiver to your spouse or somebody you're close to, your mom, your grandma, somebody else you're close to is very ill? That's grief, honey. And there's nothing wrong with grieving. But grief does not mean that your life has to be over. There's a difference between grief and your life being over. Yeah, it feels like it's going to kill you. Absolutely. But it doesn't have to kill you. Do you still have children that look to you? Think about them. Do you really want them to lose you right now? Hey, looks like we're back. Lost you for a second. So you can call somebody and get help. You don't have to give up. That's what I'm saying. So I hope that that's helpful to somebody. It's so tempting to want to just let your grief take over. It's very tempting. I know. I've been there. I won't lie. When my husband came home and he was not able to work anymore, I gave up inside. I did in my grief. But grief doesn't have to kill you. Caregiver grief is real. The trauma of becoming a caregiver is very, very real. And I don't want to ever see, yeah, we're still doing a live stream. I was just checking to make sure the live stream is still working, y'all. I don't ever want to see you all that are part of this audience falling in line with stupid stuff that people say when they don't know what else to say or when they are themselves stuck in their own grief. I told you when I first heard somebody say, yeah, if your spouse is sick, you're sick too. I agree with them because I was so deep in my grief. But that is not true. It's not true. So if you're a caregiver, there are some things that you can do to help you get your grief under control. I won't say get rid of grief because grief has different stages. And if you have a loved one who has a chronic illness that just changes over time and it takes decades for them to decline, that grief just doesn't go away, honey. It's just going to be there, but it may look different at different stages. Okay. So I want to give you some practical things that you can do to help you deal with the grief, but I also want to hopefully inspire you to dream again, to regain your dreams or to start new dreams, to start dreaming. Your life is not over when your loved one is sick. Your life is not over. That's the grief talking. And I hope that you'll talk with someone you trust, someone who has the right expertise to talk to you and help you, someone who you resonate with. I hope you find someone you can talk with that can encourage you and not say stupid stuff to you. Sometimes there's some people you just can't talk to about your grief because they will say stupid stuff. Well intentioned. They're not trying to say stupid things. They just don't know any better. And I know for sure before I went through that deep grief, I had never experienced that before. So I would say stupid stuff to people, trying to encourage them, well intentioned. But I learned there are some things that I don't want to hear that are not encouraging and not helpful. For instance, oh, how are they doing? I'm not going to answer that question. I don't want people asking me that. I don't want people asking me. That's not the right question. But being around people who do get it, they know how to just give you a hug and love on you. Being around the right people can be very healing. So find your community. If your loved one has a specific illness, there's probably going to be some type of organization or association or foundation that um, raises money for research or something like that that you can plug in with. My husband's specific condition is called ataxia, and there's an ataxia foundation. There are groups, even locally, and there are also online groups. And a lot of what we've been through has been since the pandemic. So some of the groups and resources and services that we might have in the past had to be in person to access, everything moved online. So for the most part, moved online and also to teleconferences. So for the most part, you can access a lot of resources through teleconference phone calls with groups of people who are going through what you're going through. Facebook groups, of course. Not always I'm not always advocating for Facebook groups though, because that's some of the worst places to be around people who are deep in their grief. And it can really not help. It can be very unhelpful for you to be around people that are deep in their grief or trolls. What happens sometimes is in these groups, people are lonely. And so they become trolls or they become victims of trolls looking for somebody to hang with. And I'll let you interpret that whatever way you want to. But it can be emotionally dangerous to be around a whole bunch of people who are not managing their grief well. Okay. So probably want to go with official organizations that have people they've hired, psychiatrists, social workers, whatever, who are trained to help people like you. So Facebook groups could be helpful, but be careful. So I just wanted to encourage you to find a way to be connected with other people that understand what you're going through. So that's the first thing. Second thing, if you have your own dreams and visions that you've already had prior to becoming a caregiver, did you write any of that stuff down? I've talked about this in previous episodes. When you write things down, and I'm going to change this to the side here, y'all, just to make it easier for me so I don't have to keep holding this. But I also want to make sure that you all don't see just the triangle or the rectangle in the middle of the screen. If you've already written things down in the past, go pick up those old journals and start reading them. You don't necessarily have to write anything new. Pick up those old journals or pieces of paper, whatever you wrote things down on. Go pick it up and look at it. Read through those things again. There's nothing wrong with you having dreams while you're grieving your loved one. And, you know, some people may consider, some experts may call some of what you're going through survivor's remorse. You don't have to feel guilty about living when your loved one is having a hard time or maybe even has already passed. Because wouldn't they want you to live if it's a healthy relationship? Wouldn't they want you to still live and have a good life? Yes. And if it's an unhealthy relationship and they wouldn't have wanted you to live and keep and enjoying life, then you need to even double time, make sure that it's so. You can still dream, even if you've become a caregiver. You can still dream. You can still go after your goals. Now, if you have not already written down previous dreams that you may have had, then you can definitely take the time to do that now. I actually sell journals that I've created. The ones that I've created so far are more so geared towards people who participate in co-working. And co-working is basically, some people call it masterminding. I don't really want to call it that. Co-working is where you come together primarily with like-minded individuals, usually in a virtual environment, could be in person too. But you can use Zoom, for instance, to get together at a specific time for a specific period of time, for a specific amount of time, like let's say 2 hours. You break those 2 hours up into smaller segments with breaks in between each segment so that you can each focus on whatever task you're working on, whatever step towards a goal that you're working on. It can make you very productive in getting things done within just a 1 or 2 hour time frame. A lot of times people who have dealt with some type of trauma, including becoming a caregiver to a family member unexpectedly, that's traumatizing. That can affect your brain patterns. It can make you not be able to focus as well. So if you've been beating up on yourself about not being able to focus and read a book or even focus or watch a whole TV show, please stop beating up on yourself. This is a sign of trauma. And as a caregiver, you have endured some trauma. You may not want to call it that. You call it whatever you want, but you've endured some stuff that's changed you from the inside out. It's changed your brain. It's changed the way you think. It's changed where you go. It's changed your finances. It has changed you. That's some trauma, y'all. That's trauma. And because it's changed you, then you need to give yourself grace to approach things in a different way than you might have done before you had the trauma. Again, you might not want to call it trauma, but it's changed you. It's made serious impacts on pretty much every area of your life. It may have changed your sleep patterns. You may have insomnia. There's nothing wrong with admitting that there are changes that have happened as a result of what you've been going through, what your family has been going through. Nothing wrong with admitting that there have been changes. And when you admit to yourself that there are obviously changes in yourself, then you can come up with alternatives to doing some things that you may want to do, going after some dreams you may have in a different way than what you would have before. You may not be able to go take 2 days and fly off to a conference, but maybe you can attend a virtual conference and get a study room in a library and have somebody to sit with your loved one for you for 2 hours. It's okay to admit that you have changed because of what you've been through and what your family has been through. There's no shame in that. I'm not going to launch into a big talk about perfectionism here because I've talked about it so much in previous episodes and so have some of my guests. But what I will say is this: if perfectionism is a thing for you, where you always have to have everything perfect, and now you're a caregiver, that is a bad combination. That will ruin you because as a caregiver, you will never get everything perfect because you don't have control. So expecting that of yourself, it's unrealistic and it's unfair. It's unfair to you. Treat yourself kinder, give yourself some grace. You're not going to do everything perfect to keep everything perfectly in order. It's just not going to happen, especially if you're caregiving for somebody that has some type of digestive disrupt, because you got to clean up after them. And it's okay for everything not to be perfect all the time, but it's not okay for you to beat up on yourself about it. It's not okay for you to feel ashamed. That's not okay. There's no shame in what your loved one's going through. There's no shame in you deciding to care for them, to step up and care for them. There's no shame in that. So this is one of the reasons why you really need to get in a community, in a group or something, or even go to therapy. This is one of those big reasons. If you're a person who is dealing with perfectionism, where everything has to be in perfect order all the time, and now you're a caregiver, oh honey, you need some therapy to help you, because you will not be doing well inside. And if you're not well, how well can you keep taking care of that person over time sustainably? Eventually that stuff's going to break you down. And do you want to get sick and be gone before they're gone? And I've seen that happen. Caregivers are not taking care of themselves, and they end up passing away before the person passes away. And then now that person needs a new caregiver from the family. Is that what you want to leave? Is that the legacy you want to leave for your family? That you are gone too soon because you were a caregiver and weren't taking care of yourself? And I've seen that happen in my own family. And I've seen caregivers who have gotten so stuck in their grief that it literally killed them. And they left orphan children. Is that what you want? I don't think you do. That's not what I want for you. So that's why I'm talking about this topic, because as you dream, as you think about life beyond that grief, it will make you want to take care of yourself better. It'll make you want to do more. It'll make you want to be who you really are. It'll make you want to understand yourself better and be a better version of yourself, right? As you dream, the dream itself will infuse you with energy, and it will help you. So I have really enjoyed sharing with you all some of the insights that I've had as a family caregiver, as a spousal caregiver, who decided that I was going to keep dreaming and push past this grief. Like I said, the grief just has different faces on it over time. It does not, it just has different phases over time. It does not go away. Yeah, even after the person passes away, like my dad has been gone since 2016. I'm still grieving my dad. I was crying the other day, but it's a different type of grief. It's more of a, I miss him. It's more of just that I miss him. I miss being able to talk with him. And um, yeah, it's not that I physically miss his presence so much as I miss being able to talk to him. So the grief has changed its face, but it's still there. And I deal with it in my opinion, better ways. I deal with grief in better ways now. The grief over the changes with my husband, definitely the grief has changed the way it looks, but it's still there. But I deal with it in different ways now. And like I said to y'all earlier, getting support has meant everything for me. And expanding my community has meant everything for me. It helped me to want to dream for myself again and not give up. We still have children. We still have children that are not full-fledged adults. So I'm not going anywhere. I love myself. I'm going to take care of myself. And that's what I want for you too. So just because you've become a caregiver does not mean that you have to give up on your dreams. And it also means that if you choose to keep dreaming and learn how to push past that grief and deal with it in its different phases and faces, those goals and dreams that you have for yourself could actually give energy to you to keep growing, keep learning, keep taking better care of yourself. All right, I'm Coach Donna Marie. You can learn more about the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast, including seeing or watching or listening to past episodes. If you go to our main show website, that's located at plantyourseeds.show. Again, that's PLANTYOURSEEDS.SHOW, plantyourseeds.show. I just hope and I pray whoever's watching this, whoever shares this, that caregivers are encouraged by this, by somebody who gets you, to keep dreaming and don't give up on yourself. God bless you. Bye-bye. Oh, and this show is a production of Lead Like a Queen, Coaching and Consulting, LLC. And again, I am Coach